Let's get it. I just float with it. Fuck what you did, I'm at your throat with it. You can learn something, take a note with it. Dedicated my life, I took an oath with it. For the blood of my brothers, we don't do no switching. I run with who I run with, ain't no clicking. Try me, do you done with no decision. Lead a scene like a Mack truck with 4 collisions. Pose everywhere, but they ain't gon' vote dissing. Coming at you live and direct, I don't do no dissing.
Shalom Israel. Yahweh Shemi Al Baraka Thumb to all my brothers. Yahweh Shema Al Thumb Shemi Al to all my sisters. All right, welcome to Real Time Revelations. This is a show hosted by myself, Officer 500 Ra'al Bana of the UK. This is a show I do every Monday and every Thursday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. covering everything that's going on in the UK. You know what I'm saying? Things that are going on worldwide. I cover recent current events and I give you the breakdown in real time. All right. So if you're new to this show, make sure you follow the page. Make sure you like, you follow, you subscribe. You know what I'm saying? You share the video to anybody, you know what I'm saying, anybody you know, any family and friends. Now today's topic is on the Home Office. You know, I'm sure you read by the intro. The Home Office secretly deported over 600 Brazilians. You know what I'm saying? 600 of our brothers and sisters, you know what I'm saying, the so-called Brazilians, which would be Asherites, right? The tribe of Asher. The UK the Home Office secretly deported over 600, right? Now you think, you know, back in the day with the whole Windrush scandal, you think, you know, the UK, they are trying to keep things under wraps. They're trying to, you know, not have another scandal, but they definitely trying to deport Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians. They're trying to do it secretly. In secret, they're trying to deport over 600, you know what I'm saying, so-called Brazilians, right? The tribe of Asher. Now, you know, before we cover this story, of course, you have to go over the Windrush scandal. All right, let's go into that. Let's go into that real quick. All right, so this right here, the British political scandal. It's like here. The Windrush scandal was a British political scandal that began in 2018 concerning people who were wrongly detained, denied legal rights, threatened with deportation, and in at least 83 cases, wrongfully deported from the UK by the Home Office. So it said, you know, at least 83 cases, you know, people from the Caribbean were wrongly deported from the UK by the Home Office. And now, you know, only 6 years later, the Home Office is now turning around again and deporting over 600 Brazilians, including, you know what I'm saying, children from the UK. Children who will have lived their whole lives in the UK, settled in school, made friends. Now you're being deported back to Brazil or back to Colombia. You know what I'm saying? The UK, you know, the UK has not learned, has not, you know, there's no remorse. There's no, you know, they will say sorry and they'll come up with this compensation scheme and that compensation scheme, which is some of the worst ran compensation schemes, you know, known to mankind. But your oppressor is not sorry for oppressing you and they will do it again. That's why you need to know who your oppressor is, and you need to know who your enemy is, and you need to know who your family is. You need to know who is the people I should gather with. Who is the people I should fight with, you know what I'm saying, and fight for. Should I continue to fight in this nation's army that's only abused and, you know what I'm saying, only abused and mistreated and deported and exploited, or should I stand with my people? Well, first you have to know who your people are. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, according to the Bible, are one people. We're the same people from your so-called West Indies, from the, you know what I'm saying, the so-called Negroes in America, from the Colombians, Argentinians, you know what I'm saying, the so-called Latinos and Latinas, you know what I'm saying, the so-called Native Indians, your Seminole Indians, your Native Indians in America. We are one people and we should stand together, all right? Because when you trust in this oppressor, you try to stand with him, or, you know what I'm saying, you try to live amongst him, you get nothing but abused and exploited and, of course, deported, which leads into today's story. All right, we're going to get into today's story. So right here, this is from The Guardian. All right, this article was posted just yesterday morning. All right, more than 600 Brazilians deported by Home Office on 3 secret flights. All right, so it says a record number of deportees includes children who may have spent most of their lives in the UK. Right, so they, you know what I'm saying, the UK is clearly at the moment cracking down on any sort of immigration, or that they basically trying to get everybody, out of the country. Everybody, if you're not British, if you're not, you don't have white skin or red skin, I should say, then you had to go. You had to go out of this country. And if they can find a way to get you gone, they will get you gone. You had to have all the right, all right documentation. You had to fit all that criteria, or they will get rid of you. You know what I'm saying? No matter if you come over here seeking asylum, you come over here to, try and find a better life, and you fight in their war, you support their economy, you build their system. You know what I'm saying? When times get tough, when the ish hits the fan, you know how to go. All right. And these Brazilians found that out the hard way. The same way the Windrush generation found that out the hard way. All right, so we're going to get into this article. I'm going to read on further. It says more than 600 Brazilians, including 109 children, have been secretly removed from the UK on the 3 largest Home Office deportation charter flights in history. So this is the largest, I say some of the largest deportation charter flights in history. And of course, they're not deporting, they're not deporting the so-called, any other nation. They're deporting Israelites. Right? They're deporting, the tribe of Asher in the largest deportation charter flights in history. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to read on. Since the Labour government came to power, the Observer has learned. Right? So since they came into power, they secretly deported over 600 Brazilians. You know what I'm saying? The Home Office has never before removed any nationality in such large numbers on individual deportation charter flights. So it's never before has they, targeted and singled out a specific, ethnicity in such a large number. This has never been done before in history in such a large number. They're deporting a specific group of people. You know what I'm saying? And to read on, it said, it is thought that the children have never before been removed on these flights. Right? So apparently in history, children haven't before been a part of these removals. So they would allow families to stay together and stay, in the UK. But in this case, these Israelites, these Asherites, they all had to go, children and all. Your mom, your dad, your child, y'all all gotta go. Because we have to, of course, make room for good old British people. They getting a little cramped, so everybody else has to go. And it isn't everybody else, it's the children of the Windrush, and it's the Brazilians, and it's whoever else they're secretly deporting. You know what I'm saying? Which is we gonna see these stories come out. We're gonna see these stories come out. There's more as we find out more and more that they are targeting God's chosen people. When you see this, you see World War III on the horizon, and they say, okay, because the oppressor in them high places, they know the biblical prophecy. They know the biblical prophecy. The Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians will rule this earth, and their time is coming to an end. So they're very swiftly getting rid of Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians out of this country. As many as they can get out, they're getting rid of you to try and, stave off you, taking over. But, we know that ain't gonna work. We know, this should just be a lesson that we can never trust our oppressor, and that we need to gather together. We shouldn't gather with this oppressor. We shouldn't gather trying to come over here and then marry his women, or our women marrying their men to get a green card or to get, visa status, visa status. Meanwhile, you're getting abused because now your oppressor has this power over you, and you're getting abused already because they don't like you. They just see you and they hate your guts. They don't even know why they hate you so much, but it's in their DNA. It's coded in their DNA to hate Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. All right, we should gather together and stand as one people, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. All right. So let me get right here. So to read on, according to Freedom of Information data seen by the Observer, the 3 flights were on the 9th of August, where 205 people, including 43 children, were removed. The 23rd of August, where 206 people, including 30 children, and the 27th of September. So over, over August and September, and I'm sure there's likely been more since then. They are deporting, Brazilians, so-called Brazilians, by droves. You know what I'm saying? It says right here, all the deported children were part of family units, and many of them would have been settled at school and are likely to have spent most, if not all, of their lives in the UK. So now you're being uprooted from, everything you know. You're being completely uprooted, and your whole family is being deported. You know what I'm saying? Because this nation does not want you here. They speak a good game of inclusion and, similar to America. Britain is always they try and present themselves as this, very tolerant and inclusive country. When push comes to shove, when it starts affecting British people, because you brought over so many Afghans and Ukrainians, and now there's no space for anybody. Now you had to go. The people that don't look like them, you have to go. You know what I'm saying? We already know they're getting mad at them Palestinians, which are causing up a ruckus, because Palestinians have no respect for this country. Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, we at least have respect for this country, but simply because they hate you, you know what I'm saying? And we shouldn't have respect for this country because of the history of what this country has done to our people. But in being destroyed and having Stockholm syndrome, we have, we're patriotic towards this country. We love Britain. You know what I'm saying? People in the Caribbean, we still call it the mother country to this day, even after knowing how they treated, you know what I'm saying, the blacks, the West Indians that came over here and fought in the war. People still call it the mother country. You know what I'm saying? We should not respect, or we should not honor this country. You just look at the history of how they have treated us and our forefathers. We should have no honor for this nation. We should have no reverence for them. We should understand that they are our enemy according to the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Now we're going to read on right here. It says the returns were classed as voluntary and were likely to include people who had overstayed their visas. The Home Office offers incentives for voluntary returnees of up to £3,000, including for babies and children. Okay, so now they're saying, to avoid it being another Winra scandal where they just deported you and gave you nothing. Okay, now this time they give you a little change. They'll give you a little £3,000. Meanwhile, in order to be in the UK, a lot of these people were on visas where you have to pay like 3,000, 800. I read it was like 3,850 that you have to pay every 2.5 years in order to stay in the UK. These people are paying upwards of, almost £4,000, £4,000 to be in the UK, £4,000 every, 2.5 years. And when they get ready to deport you back, they'll say, okay, hold this little 3,000, as if that's supposed to be, that's supposed to compensate you from them deporting you. Meanwhile, they have bled you dry to stay in this country. And now they give you a little 3,000, say, all right, go. Get out of this country. Go on. Get. You and your whole family, go. You know what I'm saying? We have no need for you anymore. Meanwhile, you know what I'm saying, the Latinos, the blacks, the Latinos, we've contributed so much to this country. Just to the whole infrastructure of this country, the flavor of this country. Britain has absolutely no flavor if it wasn't for blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians. Y'all would have absolutely no flavor if it would, all London slang, all British slang is damn near, all of it is just Jamaican slang. Y'all would have no flavor, nobody would want to really visit your country if it wasn't for, the contributions that black people brought to this country. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to read on. They gave you a little chump change and send you back. It says the sweeteners are provided in the form of preloaded cards that can be activated once people touch down in their home country. All right, and it says the government is keen to trumpet its deportation credentials, with figures published on Thursday revealing 8,308 enforced and voluntary returns. Meaning they, right at the moment, the UK is cracking down on immigration and they are deporting everybody left, right, and center. You're hearing, I covered 2 stories on my show about them trying to deport, West Indians, Jamaicans, so-called Benjamites, and this story right here where they in secret sent home 600 Brazilians, over 600 Brazilians. They trumpeting, they so proud of their deportation, credentials. They puffing up their chest at how many people they deporting. And you think okay, 600 Brazilians, okay, well, how many Colombians are they deporting? How many, Trinidadians are they deporting? How many others of the the children of Israel are they just sending home or enforcing to leave, deporting? All right, now, so they've had between July and September, they've had 8,308 enforced and voluntary returns, meaning they don't have to drag you kicking and screaming. They pull up, they say you have to leave, and you say, okay, fine, I'll leave. That's voluntary. All right, they say it's a 16% increase on the same period last year. Let me get right here and get the point I want. While the government is keen to promote the numbers returned, they have failed to mention publicly that the destination of these historic deportation flights was Brazil. So they have failed to mention that, they saying, okay, we've returned, or we've enforced, and we've deported over 8,000 people. They failed to mention that some of the largest deportation was Brazilians, was the so-called Brazilians, Asherites. All right, it says Latin American rights organizations have raised concerns about how the Home Office was able to get such large numbers of a single nationality, including unprecedented numbers of children likely to be settled at school out of the country, completely under the radar. Like, how have you managed to do this completely undetected and under the radar? Because your oppressor is so slimy and so down low, and everything he does is just on the outside he appears to make himself look so great and so tolerant and so welcoming, but behind closed doors he is deporting our brothers and sisters. He was deporting our young children, man, and not telling anybody. All right, then we're gonna read on. It says the organization Coalition of Latin Americas in the UK expressed alarm about the hundreds of secret deportations. All right, they said we are concerned by the sharp increase in voluntary returns of Brazilians in the last year. As the largest Latin American community in the UK, Brazilians face significant barriers to accessing high quality information and accredited legal advice, particularly in their own language. All right, meaning, they when they come to say, it comes to these Brazilians and comes to these so-called Brazilians and saying, okay, well, your visa's up, you need to go, or you need to renew your visa, or you need to do this. These people, there's a language barrier there. There's a language barrier, so they don't fully understand what it is you're telling them. They just say you had to go. They don't really understand the reason why. They don't understand, is there a way I can fight this? What can I do to stay? Or, what can I do to avoid my child being ripped apart of school and his, education being, interrupted and stay, right? Well, what can I do? They don't, they haven't been provided appropriate legal advice, and there's a language barrier. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to read on right here. It says many arrived through onward migration from EU countries. However, post-Brexit immigration rule changes, meaning after the UK decided to leave the European Union, and now, I think, if I remember from a few shows in the past, a brother brought out that they're trying to get rid of the European Human Rights Act, which a lot of the reason why people are able to, come to this country to claim asylum, or, to come to this country because the conditions they're in is inhumane. Right now, I think there's works they're trying to get rid of the Human Rights Act. So when Blacks, Hispanics pull up at the door and try and seek refuge, or seek, safety, you can be rejected. There's been a whole load of immigration rule changes. All right, and now many of our brothers and sisters will find themselves seeking help and finding none. You know what I'm saying? And that's in the Bible right here. Let me get that in the Bible. Let me get Lamentations 4 and verse 17. All right, this is for Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians. It says, as for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. So we try and come to these countries, we apply, and we come to these countries, we seek refuge, we try and, we trying to escape a country that might not have as much opportunity. We try to come over here, have some opportunity, so we can make some money, maybe send back for our family back in, back in Jamaica, back in Trinidad, back in Brazil, back in Colombia, back in wherever we're coming from. We come to these countries for opportunity or to seek refuge, or, for many reasons, we're seeking help, but our eyes have failed for our help. We're looking for our oppressor for help, and that's why it says vain help right here. Something is vain, that means it won't benefit you. Even if your oppressor will allow you over here, it's only because it benefits him. Like when he let the Windrush generation come over here, it benefited him because we then rebuilt his country. It benefited him because we fought in his war. But when it comes to actually helping Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, if there's no benefit to your oppressor, your eyes will fail. Your eyes will fail for your vain help. You know what I'm saying? In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. They might let you over here for a time, but when push comes to shove, you have got to go. You've watched for a nation that could not save you. All right? And get the next verse in verse 18. They hunt our steps that we cannot go in our streets. This oppressor hunted and found over 600 so-called Brazilians. Over 600. And some of the biggest flights in recorded history, deporting a specific, group of people, deporting our brothers and sisters back to Brazil. They hunt our steps, man. All right, and it says, our end is near, our days are fulfilled, for our end is come. All right, so wherever you was coming over here to seek refuge from whatever country you was from, and now you get sent back, and now you thinking, my whole life is over. Everything I built, I built a whole life in the UK. My children, I had children, they went to school, they had friends. All that just gets torn up. You just get torn out of the life you had and deported back to, the country you came from. You know what I'm saying? That's your oppressor right there. They hunt our steps. They hunted and found over 600 Brazilians, so-called Brazilians, and sent them back. All right, now we're going to get back into the article. All right, where was that? So post-Brexit immigration rule changes have left hundreds of them and their non-EU family members at risk of having their having their rights denied due to misinformation and harsh eligibility requirements. Meaning for Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, it is very harsh for you to remain, for you to be eligible to stay here. It's very harsh. Your oppressor does not want you here, so he makes it some of the harshest conditions and requirements that you have to meet. Stuff that is absolutely ridiculous. They paying for Ukrainians to come over here. They paying for, British citizens to house Ukrainian and to house an Afghan. But, when it comes to God's chosen people, you will find very harsh eligibility requirements to come here and to stay here. All right. It says the coalition warned that Brazilian women are particularly at risk for the Home Office initiative to remove Brazilians from the UK en masse, particularly those experiencing gender-based violence. I know we're going to get into the gender-based violence. So it says these women, these so-called, these Asherite sisters are often trapped by abusive partners who use their British or EU passports as tools of control. And that's why, listen, if you come over here and you thinking you're going to get with some oppressor man or woman, and they do nothing but abuse you, you should not, listen, if you are a so-called Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, you should never lie down with your oppressor. Never, ever lie down with your enemy, man. All they will ever do is abuse you. All right, so they holding this British passport and EU passport over their head, you know what I'm saying, controlling these sisters, controlling our sisters and abusing them. You know what I'm saying, physical abuse, emotional abuse, just manipulation, and leaving them with no viable path to safety or settlement. You know what I'm saying? Let me get right here. In one case, a woman was being supported by Latin American Women's Aid She was fleeing violence with her 2 sons, including a disabled child with special education needs. And they were forced to move between 3 hotels. And what the woman was eventually refused was called the Migrant Victim of Domestic Abuse Concession, which allows, or would usually allow, migrant domestic violence victims to stay in the UK. So this sister should have had, what's known as migrant domestic violence. Slack here. She should have had the Migrant Victim of Domestic Abuse Concession. But they saw that she was one of God's chosen people, and they said, They said, nah, you had to go back. You had to go back to Brazil. You fleeing violence, you fleeing domestic violence, but that ain't my problem. Y'all gotta go back to Brazil. You ain't, this your oppressor does not care what state you're in, whether you're being abused, whether you're fleeing, a war-torn country, whether you're fleeing domestic violence. Your oppressor does not care for you. They don't care for the Afghans and the Ukrainians and whatever else other nation. But when it comes to Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, there is never any care for us, man. There's never any care for us. All right. It says, it is not known how many people on the 3 flights did not want to return to Brazil due to fears about their safety, but felt they had no choice but to board the planes. And when it comes to this oppressor, they talk about, they left voluntarily, and we gave them £3,000. When it comes to this oppressor, there ain't nothing voluntary about it. There is absolutely nothing voluntary about the way this oppressor conducts himself. All right. We're gonna get into another scripture. So we finished reading this article. I'm gonna get into another scripture right here. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 64. This is how we identify who God's chosen people are. This is who we identify who they are, man. All right, Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68. This is the curses that God's chosen. This is some of the curses that God's chosen people will go through. This is what we went through as a people. All right, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people. Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, we were scattered among all people, among so many people enslaved us, man. We were enslaved under the Arabs and the sub-Saharan slave trade. We were enslaved under so many European countries, the Spanish, the French, the French with the Haitians and the Spanish with many of the South American countries enslaving them. That's why we speak Spanish, The so-called West Indians enslaved under the British and the Spanish. Whoever won that war just got the slaves. Your so-called Negroes enslaved by your so-called Americans. In America, we were scattered from one end of the earth even unto the other. We were scattered among all people, man. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. And in these other countries, we are taught Christianity. We are taught Islam. We are taught Rastafarianism. We're taught, Santa Maria. We're taught, many of our Latino brothers is heavy in Christianity and it's a real heavy culture down there, man. And Rastafarianism and Pan-Africanism, we serve other gods which neither us or our fathers have known. All right, our forefathers didn't know the gods that we serve today. They knew Yahweh. They didn't know about some old white guy called Jesus in Roman clothing called that they claim as Jesus Christ. They didn't know about no Muhammad and Allah. They didn't know about whatever Selassie and Rastafarianism. They knew the one true God of the Bible, Yahweh. And they knew about Jesus Christ, Yahweh Shai in the Hebrew, who was a black man according to the Bible. All right. But in this day and age, in these countries where we're scattered, we serve wood and stone. We serve the two of the main religions in this earth, which is the wood is Christianity, that wooden cross, and the stone is Islam. All right. The stone they bow down to in Mecca. All right. I'm going to get into the next verse. All right. Next verse is key for the topic today. 28 and verse 65. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease. Among these nations, among the British, among the Spanish, among the French, among the German, among the anybody, The Americans, we found no ease, man. We found no ease. We've always been in harsh conditions and living a terrible life, man. According to what what your oppressor, the life he's able to live is amazing compared to the life we're able to live, man. I even seen a video the other day. I did the on the end with Captain Karathia out of the UK. You know what I'm saying? The camp leader of the UK. To give a hand to Captain Karathia. You know what I'm saying? Now, we did a show and he brought out how Gordon Ramsay, this devil Gordon Ramsay, this famous Gordon Ramsay, talks about, back in the days when he was skint, and he was broke, and he had 20,000 for a house deposit, and was asking, I think his partner's father, for the other 20,000 because he was so skint, because he was flat broke, flat broke with £20,000, and the response of his partner's father, who's the person who was asking to borrow the additional £20,000. So he's in the group of people that he can just ask to borrow £20,000, talking about he was skint and he was broke, right? But the person responded that I'm not gonna give you £20,000, but maybe I'd consider giving it to you, but you have to sell your Porsche. This man has a luxury car and £20,000, talking about he was flat broke. The lives your oppressor is able to live is not like the lives you live. You find no ease among these people. These people rule the earth. These people, have holidays every month and year. I'm saying a yearly holiday they're able to go on. A black man, you'd be lucky if you get a holiday in 5 years. With the life you have to live in these countries, with the conditions that we're in as a nation. I'm going to read on. Neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. The sole of our foot shall not have rest, man. There is no place where you can settle down and be comfortable. You're always looking over your shoulder because whoever is coming to knock on your door to deport you back. And now you have to uproot your family, and you have to leave, and you have to travel to another country. And in that country, you might be fleeing a war or fleeing domestic violence. The sole of your foot have no rest. There is no place where you can settle and be like, okay, this is home. We have no land of our own. We're just traveling from country to country that's owned by our oppressors, that's owned by our slave masters. We have no place that we can call our own, that we can kick up our feet and have rest. The Windrush generation, we came over here, we thought we could settle, but no, they deported us back. The soles of our foot have no rest, man. There's nowhere you can be comfortable in this life, in this kingdom. You know what I'm saying? But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. When them police officers or whatever officers, come and knock on your door and tell you your paperwork is expired, you had to go. There is a trembling of heart and failing of eyes. You're looking for empathy in this oppressor. Your oppressor will never have empathy for you. You know what I'm saying? And sorrow of mind, where you're always thinking, like, for Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, no matter what we do as a nation, it seems like we can never find rest. We have a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind, man. All right, that's the life that we live. I'm gonna get into this next article because this nation, the UK, Britain, the UK, England, they are not done with oppressing Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians. I bring this out damn near every show, every week. They are just not done with oppressing Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians. All right, so they already had the the whole Windrush scandal back in the day. Now we're going to get into the new one that's about to happen. It's about to happen in like a month's time. You're going to find that many Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians are being wrongly deported because of this right here. Right? It says many unable to access e-visas to prove rights to be in the UK. Home Office admits. All right, so we're gonna read on. Campaigners say that problems with digital transfer, so transferring from having paper visas to now it's a whole digital system. Now you have e-visas, right? Could affect hundreds of thousands of people on 10-year route visas. This thing is going to affect hundreds of thousands of people, 6 figures. These people on 10-year route visas. All right, I'm going to read on in the story. The Home Office has admitted that many people who have the right to live and work in the UK cannot access their e-visas and provide proof that they are allowed to be in the country. Human rights campaigners have said that problems with accessing e-visas could lead to a scandal. So another scandal is on the horizon, involving hundreds of thousands of people. Those affected are allowed to be in the UK, but cannot show their right to work or rent a home. Meaning the people who are unable to access these e-visas, while the Home Office is sorting it out, they're able to stay in the UK, sure. Yeah, you can stay in the UK, but without this e-visa, without this proof that you have the right to live and work in the UK, you won't be able to work. And if you can't work, you're not able to earn money. If you're not able to earn money, you can't rent. Even if you could, if you had the money to rent, you need this e-visa to prove your eligibility to be able to rent a home. So you're gonna find hundreds of thousands of people who are not able to work and are not able to rent a home. Now you're going to end up homeless with no way to work or earn money legally. So when you stunt someone's ability to work, what are they going to turn to? You have absolutely no choice but to turn to crime. If you're not able to, if you're not able to legally work, but you need money in order to survive. You need money in order to eat. Never mind in order to have somewhere to live, which now they're not going to allow you to have because you don't have the right documentation because of their system fails. What are you going to have? You're going to have hundreds of thousands of people. You're going to have crime increasing because these people need to earn money and there's no way they can do it legally because your system has failed them. All right, I'm going to get on in the story. At the end of this month, the Home Office is transferring to a digital immigration system, and most physical documentation proving the right to remain in the UK, such as biometric residence permits, will expire. So your physical documentation where you have and you've kept safe, this physical documentation going to expire, and now you have to move over to this digital system, but this digital system does not work. So now you have no way of proving your rights to live or work in the UK or rent a home. All right, it says the Guardian has learned that some of a particularly large group of migrants have not been able to obtain e-visas even though they have applied for them and have a right to receive them. Even though you've applied for them, you've given every damn visa costs thousands of pounds. Thousands of pounds. I've seen visas that for this 10-year route, you have to pay 3,850 every 2.5 years. You have to pay that when you apply. So they've applied for them. They're eligible to apply for them. They have a right to receive them, but they have not received their e-visas. Thousands of pounds, and this, you have hundreds of thousands of people, each individually paying thousands of pounds, and on top of that, if they have family and other members, per person, paying thousands of pounds per person, and you can't even create a system that works. You can't even create a system to give them the documentation they're paying thousands of pounds for. It's an absolute failure, and it's not by, you think with all the technology this oppressor has, you think he can't create a system that actually works? You think he can't do it? He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want, this oppressor is not going to make your life easy. This oppressor does not want your life as a Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian man or woman. He does not want your life easy. He will make it hard at every damn turn. You can't get the documentation. You can't work. You can stay here, sure, because it's our fault. The system isn't working. We're working. We're doing our part to get things rolling. So you can stay here, but if you don't have the documentation, you can't work, and you can't rent a place. Or you can't buy a place to live. So what are you gonna do? Good night. It says hundreds of thousands of people are on a particularly harsh Home Office visa known as the 10-year route, where they have to pay large sums of money to renew. And many people on that route are people of color. which of course we already knew. Many of these people are blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, so-called people of color who are on low incomes. Meaning even to pay this thousands of pounds, I looked it up, it's 3,850 every 2.5 years. In order to pay that, many of our brothers and sisters are having to borrow money. So now you're ended up in debt because you have to pay this ridiculously high, large sum of money just to stay in the UK. It says there are delays of about a year for those people in our group each time they renew their visa. So each time they go to renew their visa and pay thousands of pounds, again, almost £4,000, which in US dollars is, go ahead and look it up. I think it's almost £5,000, $5,000. I mean, there are delays of about a year with even the system working. All right. And whilst they renew their visa, they're granted 3C leave while they wait, which allows them to work and rent properties. All right. So instead of having the official visa, they give you 3C leave. They give you documentation that says, okay, you don't have your visa yet. It's in the process, but you have this document which allows you to work and rent properties. It says, but many who have applied for their e-visas while waiting for their visas to be renewed have hit a wall when they make the application online. Although one screen states that the person has their e-visa, an error message appears when trying to open it. And it says, we cannot show you proof of your status. This might be because your status is not ready to view in the service yet. So now you have hundreds of thousands of people where their e-visas have failed to work, right? Now the Home Office responded and said, okay, well, we know the system is crap because of all this money you're paying us. We haven't put a dime, haven't put a penny into this thing to make it actually work. We haven't invested anything into that. It's a terrible system. But okay, they're saying, you can there's other ways you can provide proof to work and, be able to rent properties. But, when we speak to the actual people that are in that situation, the Guardian was told by some people struggling to access the e-visas that some employers and estate agents were reluctant to accept any other evidence. Meaning this, the Home Office saying, there's other ways you can prove it, but the people who, the employers who you need to work, you need an employer, right? Or any estate agent which you need in order to, have a property, to have somewhere to live. They're not accepting any other evidence. They're only accepting what the Home Office should have provided you. And the system has clearly failed. All right. Now, this person, Nick Beals, the head of campaign and refugee, blah, 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 said that the problems with e-visas could lead to a Windrush-style scandal. And for a fact, they're getting ready for Windrush Part 2, man. Get ready for many Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians to be in just a terrible situation because this country does not care about you. Does not care about your well-being. Does not care about you being able to work or being able to live somewhere, being able to have a roof and shelter over your head. They don't care about that. All right, now I said, we'll read on with this right here. In June, the High Court ruled that the government's failure to provide people on 3C leave digital proof of their status was unlawful. So it's unlawful. These people have paid this money. They've gone through the process, but you're not providing them with their documents. It's absolutely unlawful. And the government know it's unlawful. The High Court has ruled it's unlawful, but the new government has refused to implement this ruling. Meaning they refused to actually, accept accountability for it. They have refused to be held accountable by that law, by the ruling that is unlawful. All right, which suggests that, like their predecessors, like the same people that had the whole Windrush scandal, these people that are ruling today have learned nothing from the Windrush scandal and remain committed to and have remained committed to preserving the hostile environment. Let me tell you what they have learned. They have learned to keep things a little bit more under wraps, where now you've managed to deport over 600 Brazilians on secret flights where nobody knows. That's what they've learned. They've learned to keep things more on the hush hush. They've learned to pay off a little bit, or trick you into saying it's voluntary, so it doesn't come up to some big scandal where they can prove that what they're doing is unlawful. But even in what they're doing, it's still unlawful. but they've become more slick and more sly with it. That's what they've learned. They've not learned anything in this is wrong, or we shouldn't treat people like this, or this is a terrible thing. We should be far more careful. We should have things in place to make sure these people have their documentation. The people that have rights can have their rights to work and live. They have learned none of that. They have learned to just do things even more sly and undercover, just like how your devil is, like a serpent. The same serpent that was in that the Garden of Eden. That same serpent. He's low down and slimy. All right. That brings me to my last scripture for the show, Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1. This is what blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians need to do. Gather yourselves together. Yea, gather together, O nation not desired. We know that black people are not desired by Britain. We're not desired by Britain. We know that by every, Windrush scandal. We know that by how they treat us. We know in everything we are not desired by this people. Our so-called Hispanic brothers and sisters, they know that they are not desired by this people. That's why over 600, Asherites were deported back to Brazil. We are a nation that's not desired. So what does the Bible tell us to do? The Bible tells blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians to gather together. That's what we need to do. You need to find the ISUPK where black and brown people unite and gather together, because we are a nation that's not desired. We are the only people that can desire each other. Only blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians can help other blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians. Only us and our God and our King Yahawashi give a damn about black people. So we need to gather together, man. You gather together in the ISUPK and you serve your God. You serve your Father. Your Father will redeem you. Britain will not help you. America will not help you. Spain, Europe, they do not give a damn. Your Father will help you. Your Father will free you, man. And with that, that is my show. All right, that's Real Time Revelations. Again, I do this show every Monday and Thursday. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all tune in. It's been an excellent show. I hope y'all enjoyed it. You know what I'm saying? I'll catch y'all again on Thursday for a new topic. Let's get into it, all right? With that, I say shalom, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai Baraka Tham to all my brothers, Yahweh Shema Allah Tham Hashem Yahushai to all my sisters. All right, shalom, Lord of Christ.
Let's get it. I just float with it. Fuck what you did, I'm at your throat with it. You can learn something, take a note with it. Dedicated my life, I took an oath with it. For the blood of my brothers, we don't do no switching. I run with who I run with, ain't no clicking. Try me, do you done with no decision. Lead a scene like a Mack truck with 4 collisions. Polls everywhere, but they ain't gon' vote dissing. Coming at you live and direct, I don't do no dissing.